Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are now on segment 3, our wild card. And this wild card segment, we're back to a segment that kind of came up as a whim. Long story short, where we embarrass
ourselves. One of the few segments we actually found a name for quite quickly.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we pretty much had it like within the day.
Yeah.
This is the segment where we go and try and quickly describe what a piece of lore, literature, movie essentially is. Within, what was it, 2 minutes was the time that we were giving ourselves last time?
Was it 1 minute 30 or 2 minutes?
I think we started at 1 minute and then we kind of moved on. We thought that was maybe a little bit too short, so we went for 2 minutes 30.
Okay. Wait, 2 minutes 30? No, we don't need 2 minutes 30.
Alright, fine, 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay, right. Do you have your stupid?
I don't, because I was just pouring myself another cup of tea.
Yeah, we did a bunch of prep for this before we started recording, and we both forgot the stopwatch.
Alright, I got my stopwatch up.
Okay, right.
My God.
Where's my dragon to hold my phone? There he is. Okay. We should how are we going to decide who goes first?
I don't know, flip
Rock,
a coin.
paper, scissors?
Actually, you know
okay.
what? I have a dice right here. Even or
Okay.
odd. I got a D20 in true D&D fashion.
I'm pretty odd, I'll go with odd.
6. Wait, no, 9.
Get fucked!
It was actually you. Sorry.
Oh, the dyslexia kicking in again. Bam!
Fuck off. So it's you first.
Okay, cool. Wait, does that mean I win, or is that...
We didn't... Oh my god. No, it means that I'm giving you something first. Or does that mean you're giving me something first?
I'm giving myself something first.
Oh, that's right.
Ooh.
Okay. Because... So, we've since last time established the rules. The first round, we each choose our own topic. And the second round, we give the topic to the other person, but it has to be something that they actually know about. And then the third round, we give them a topic they don't know anything about to watch them squirm.
Yeah, and see how close they get to the
actual. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you're first, and you are picking your own thing. What are you going to be doing?
I was, as I said before we started, I've watched, read, and experienced so many stories, but I quite often forget the ins and outs of them over time. And I looked at my bookshelf and I saw a book by Walter Moers, the same person who made the 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Bluebear. It's not the 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Bluebear, it's another one called Rumo. So Rumo is what I will be describing in the next 2 minutes.
I've never heard of this, by the way.
No, you won't have done, because it's a German novel.
Okay. Well, I had to read a few German novels when I took German.
This is possibly a bit bigger than someone who is learning German would.
Okay, fine.
read.
No, I'll let you go. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, Rumo is a book that follows the adventures from birth of a woolputting. That's a kind of species of dog-human thing. It's not a furry thing, don't worry. Called Rumo. He lives on the continent of Zamonia. He starts off with a family in a farmyard family. They're pretty rural. One day, the farmyard gets attacked by these pirate guys. The family gets murdered, I think, or sold into slavery. I can't remember which. And then Rumo is taken and put in a cell with a bunch of other captured creatures, rare, endangered, crazy creatures. And he's stuck on that rock, floating through the ocean with these slavers for a very long time. The slavers are basically kind of like Vikings. They go from village to village.
1 minute left.
Fuck. Okay. Eventually, he gets away from the slavers. He goes and finds his like the homeland of the Wolpertings, which I can't remember the name of it, but it's like this big fortress, and ends up getting accepted by them. He learns sword fighting from his master, and he's tries going into the woodworking trade. Suddenly, one day, all of the Wolpertings disappear. It turns out there's a tunnel in the middle of the village that leads to
30 seconds.
A fortress a mile under the ground. After going through a bunch of really dangerous caves and shit, he comes across this city that's full of like mechanized robots that captured all the Wolpertings. He's made to fight in an arena for the robots' entertainment. He gets a revolt going.
10 seconds.
Frees the Wolpertings. He brings them back to the village. He has a love affair that I completely missed out. And I think he ends up living out the rest of his life happily in the village. Whew.
Time. All right. Honestly, just from the names that are assigned to the things that you were talking about, I was thinking of Ewoks.
No. Wolperting, you know what a knoll is, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, a Wolperting is basically a knoll.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna do mine now. Do you have your timer ready?
Yep, I am ready. What's yours gonna be about?
I'm gonna do Warhammer 30K, basically the Horus Heresy.
The Horus Heresy. Okay.
Just let me know.
Count you down. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so previous to the Warhammer 40K universe, there was a Warhammer 30K universe. The Emperor of Mankind unified the world of Earth, which had been completely decimated by years of war and strife, and then went out to Mars, got Mars on its side, and created his sons, the Primarchs of the Astartes, these genetically engineered superhumans that were basically based of his own genetic material, enhanced humans. They were huge and they had not really special powers, but they could essentially they were living tanks, almost immortal human beings. They went out to do what was called the Great Crusade and reunite all of the vast human planets that had been cut off in a previous era. They conquered a bunch of them, put the civilization mostly back together, and then the Emperor went back to Earth to try and do something very specific. And he left, Horus in charge, one of the Primarchs. That Primarch then got corrupted by a servant of another Primarch, who decided that, fuck the Emperor, we're the king. And it caused a civil war between half the Primarchs. So basically, it split the civilization in half. It culminated in a giant battle that happened throughout the solar system. That Primarch, who had been corrupted by one of these chaos gods, fought the Emperor. The Emperor eventually won, but he was gravely injured. It caused the Empire, the Imperium man, to kind of fall into somewhat disarray and turn into a religious theocracy rather than a science-based empire of expansion. That's it.
8 seconds? Okay. Good.
I left out a lot of details, but
it was quite concise.
It's what I understand of it. To be fair, it's a 50-book series, and I'm currently on book 10. But I know
I was going to say, I know you haven't finished it yet.
I know I'm at the beginning and ending, and I've left out a lot of details, but that's a spark notes.
Yeah. Then.
All right, so we're on round 2 now, which is where we're telling each other to do our thing.
Yes. So what is mine that I have to describe?
Let's see. I have to think of something that you actually know.
Yeah, I mean, it was a struggle enough for me coming up with something that I know. For me.
I'm tempted to ask you what the plot of Overwatch is. Because there is a plot.
Is there a plot?
There's a plot and there's a lore.
I know a little bit about, like, Genji and Hanzo.
Now, there's a whole, like, machine rebellion thing, like, buried in there. All right, let me think for a second and try to pull something out that you could. Are you terribly familiar with The Witcher?
You did that last week.
Oh, I did? Fuck. Well, not last week, but the last time we did this segment.
No, you didn't do it. I did it last week as the third segment.
Oh, that's right. I did make you do it.
Yeah.
What about the Game of Thrones series?
Ooh.
That might be
Yeah.
like. Are you roughly familiar with it?
I mean, it's been like 5 years, and I only got up to a certain point, but
Well, that's good because I've only read up to a certain point. I don't want it to be spoiled for me.
okay. Okay, I'll give it a go.
I'm going to give you that one. This is venturing into third round territory, but we'll say it's good. All right.
Yeah.
So
I'll take
3,
what I get.
2, 1, go.
Okay, so the Game of Thrones starts out looking at this small group of this family, which basically runs an area of land called the Starks. And there's very strict rules, and if you break the laws there, they like cut your head off. But they are considered the good guys. A kind of a war starts up because they're like a landlord. Let's say a baron of a land, and the king who rules over all of the land dies, and so there needs to be an heir to the throne. But there's a lot of contention for who should be the next ruler of the land. So they step up as one of the parties with a lot of backing. But then one of the one of the opposing council ends up catching them on some, I can't remember the reason, but they ended up chopping the head guy's head off. Then there's the evil family's son bangs the daughter. There's a lot of contention between they're trying to keep the whole thing secret, so they end up throwing one of the Stark's children off of a tower to keep the secret. There's a lot of hostility. Shit, I'm really struggling. The Starks get split up. The people start fighting on the enemy people like hating each other. Then Sansa becomes a wizard or something.
10 seconds.
And then Jon Snow is a bastard who has a big dire wolf. There's a red wedding where everyone gets stabbed. Jon Snow gets up the wall. Fuck!
I love that description
I
so
fucked that
much.
up so badly.
I love that. That is my favorite summary of the series, I think, ever.
I can remember like the specific parts of it, but I couldn't remember what order they came in.
So you did a remarkably good job when it came to the first 2 books, but then once you got to the 3rd book, you were just like, it was just chaos.
Well, I was panicking. Sansa goes off to... Wait, Sansa's the annoying older one, isn't she?
Sansa's the annoying older one. She's the one that gets like essentially abused for like a year or so, and then she gets carted off to her.
I forgot to mention the bit where someone gets their privates.
That happens quite a few times.
Yeah, I try to think of a YouTube friendly term.
Oh, just
There's
say
not many ways
they got
say,
converted into being a eunuch.
Yes, they took a different way of life by force.
No, I mean, you did get a remarkable amount right, even if it was described in a hilarious way. So what you were trying to go for is that, so the political situation overall, there are 7 kingdoms that are unified under one overlord, the king of the 7 kingdoms. They were originally 7 kingdoms. They were unified under one king. The Starks were one of the former kingdoms that had... They were the kings in the north. They had been essentially integrated into this, It's almost like the EU in a weird way. It's a bunch of nations that have been integrated into one, like, conglomerate.
The Starks are basically Scotland.
That's actually no. That's well. I mean, so the inspiration for the Song of Ice and Fire series, which is what Game of Thrones is, the name of the first book in the Song of Ice and Fire series. It's based off the War of the Roses, which, big war, barons versus the king. Yeah, quite good. Anyway, yeah. So, me now.
Okay, how much do you know about the Doom storyline?
I mean, I read a bit of the lore from the game.
Okay. Okay, how much do you know about the Fallout storyline?
Quite a bit.
Okay, I think we'll go with Fallout then.
Okay, Fallout. All right,
Let
tell
me
me
just
when.
get my timer.
Yeah, hold on. Let me refresh my cup of herbal tea.
Herbal tea.
Jirokucha, the Japanese botanical tea.
Oh. Yeah, not a tea drinker.
It's non-caffeinated. It's pretty good. But yeah,
Okay.
let me know.
Wait, sorry, say it again?
I said let me know when.
Okay, right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the world of Fallout deviates from our current timeline back in the 1950s or 60s when the transistor isn't invented. Essentially, it retards like computer technology, which means that the sort of nuclear age continues on, and nuclear becomes like the key technology of the world. It powers everything, but computer technology doesn't really advance. And in this world, the Cold War keeps going, essentially. So sometime in the 2070s, there is a conflict. The Soviet Union falls, just like it does in the real world, but China kind of steps up again, just like it did in the real world, but it stays communist, and it stays hostile. An oil war starts between the Middle East and Europe, and that causes that whole area to get fucked. So basically, the whole world is just U.S. and China. And
1 minute.
okay, and then so there's an actual like war that happens because China invades Alaska, the U.S. nukes them back. We send over people in power armor. There's a 2-minute war, which is just nukes flying everywhere, and then that essentially levels the playing field. Now it's post-apocalypse. Little vaults are put in place all around the world, where these vaults are full of people who mostly are just guinea pigs, because the elites of the world wanted to go off and colonize another planet, and they were using them to figure out how people would deal with confined spaces. Some of these people get out into the world, the elites die, and the new California Republic shows up and fights against Caesar's Legion, which is a bunch of like roving bandits. And yeah, people go around the apocalypse trading bottle caps for stuff.
10 seconds.
Also, the new California Republic is essentially dictators.
Okay. I feel like there was a lot you missed out there.
There was quite a bit I missed out. I thought I was running out of time, so I skipped a shitload.
Also, something that was mentioned.
Yeah, what? No, that's...
Yeah, I know, but it just made me laugh when you said it.
I was using the word properly.
Yeah, I know you were. But it just made me laugh. That's what I'm saying. Okay, right. It's time for a tough one for me, isn't it?
It is indeed. Now I have to try to force you to describe the lore of a show that you haven't seen, or a book, or something else.
Or time in history.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did the history one too last time. That's a good point. So since you have said that you don't know a whole lot about this... Oh shit. Sorry, dropped my phone. Which is where I'm timing all this. I want you to describe the lore. Do you know a whole lot about Battlestar Galactica?
I know literally nothing. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
That won't work then. How about Warhammer 40k? Because I know you've played it, but I don't know if you know anything about the lore.
No, I don't know. Even a scrap. Like with the Witcher, I knew a little bit of information.
A little bit of information. All right. Fine. How about... I'm going through my list here, trying to find something that you might know. How about Firefly?
Yes. I've never... It's an American program.
Okay.
I don't even know the premise of it. I know you've told me before, but
How
I've
about
forgotten.
Final Fantasy VII?
I was kind of too young for that.
Final Fantasy X?
I,
God, I'm failing at this over and over again.
I was not a big Final Fantasy player, really.
That's fine. I'm still going. Star Trek.
Star Trek. I know Spock.
Shit.
And Scotty.
All right, let's turn this around. What's something that you've heard of that you don't know too much about? Because I'm honestly struggling right now.
Yeah.
I feel like this should be something that's fairly easy, but you know what? I could just say, what's the plot of Overwatch?
Sure. I thought you were gonna say like what's the history of America or something.
Oh, you know what? Fuck it. I'm thinking too much into the fantasy world. Let's go with a historical one.
Okay.
What is... Oh. This might be a good one.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me make sure I phrase the question right. So, again, just waffle for a second while I think about this and think of how to phrase it.
Waffle for a second, jeez. Well, speaking of waffle for a second, I'm sure the bingo card's looking pretty full today. I had a quick look at it earlier, and I think there's a good chance that we might have a bingo today. I mean, you even said...
Alright, here you go.
Tell me so. Ooh, yep.
Describe for me the Spanish-American War.
Okay.
So I will count you in. That's the topic.
Okay.
So 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, the Spanish-American War was, I'm assuming, the war that happened after the Spanish... because everyone colonized to America. And so there was Americans from France, England, Spain, and I want to say Germany. And some people... I remember the French were kind of supporting the rebellion to America being its own country, and I think they sent some troops over in support against... I thought it was England that were the big threat, but it could be Spain that really wanted it to belong to them. So they sent over a big force from... I was going to say King Louis, but that's obviously the French guy. So they sent a bunch of troops over, and
1 minute.
inferring from the day, the kind of equipment they would have would be like cannons and stuff. Like, the Spain probably had the bigger navy, I'm imagining. So they probably had control of the coastal cities fairly easily, but I'm guessing the native / colonists of America were quite dug into the land, and so they probably had trouble penetrating America.
30 seconds.
And the people who had just come over from Spain were probably not used to the climate or the way of people living in a new land. They're probably more used to Spanish tradition.
10 seconds.
And so they couldn't, like, get into the war as much. I don't know.
All right.
And they gave up because they didn't have enough fucking funds, because they have to go all the way across the fucking globe just to get back to home.
It's over.
Okay.
I would personally love to read a book about the war you just described. what you
bollocks.
what you just well no it wasn't all. Like, you actually you somehow combined elements of the Civil War and the War of 1812.
Right,
the
so
War
I
of
get
18
the completely wrong war then.
you got completely the wrong war. The War of 1812 was the U.S. versus Britain. It was where you guys
It
came
was
in and...
Britain. Okay, fuck. I took
Yeah.
a gamble that.
No,
it was
you were right.
Spain.
I mean, that you described that war pretty good. That was the war that you guys burned down the White House.
Oh yeah.
And you guys had Canada invade and used Native American tribes to fight us on our borders. It was again, that's a very interesting war. We don't really study that one here because America got their ass kicked.
Well, we didn't study it over here either. The only reason I know about it is because there's a game out there which actually looks quite fun, even though it's really old. It's a Sid Meier's game where they literally go over that war specifically, and you get the backing of different countries, and at the end, you basically have to tool up in preparation for the English trying to take the continent back.
Yeah.
So this big wave of enemies comes at the end, and you have to be ready for it and make alliances and trade and stuff.
So the other two wars that you were mixing in there was the French and Indian War, which was before America was independent. It was when it was still a British colony, and we fought a war against French colonists who were using Indian tribes to fight us back.
Right.
The other one that you're thinking of is the Civil War, which the South actually had backing from Britain and France because they were producing so much cotton and you guys needed it for your industrial revolution. And when you're talking about the naval power, you're talking about the destruction of the Armada, which is a war between Britain and Spain. So you had elements of a lot of different wars. None of them are the one I was talking about.
I mean, a lot of it was inferred, as I said, I think, while I was rambling.
So the Spanish-American War happened in the late 1800s. And essentially what happened was... it had to do with Cuba. I can't remember exactly what spawned it. I think there was something that happened around Cuba, and America declared war against Spain, and the Spanish Empire at this point was on a severe decline, and we managed to fucking crush them. Like, we took Cuba, we took the Philippines, and essentially kicked them out of our hemisphere.
Okay.
This was still when Spain was... I think Spain was still a monarchy at this point, but I'm not positive. That was essentially it. It was where the Rough Riders came from. Teddy Roosevelt, one of our most hilarious presidents. Hilarious in a good way. The guy was a badass.
I actually know a bit about the Rough Riders.
Yeah, so he was Secretary of the Navy or something like that. And he was so pissed they wouldn't let him serve, he resigned so he could form his own independent unit and go fight.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting war, and it's one that we don't really talk about too much in the U.S. history. Like, for some reason, it's just not really part of our history books, even though it's a very fascinating part of our history. Anyway, yeah, I was extremely entertained by your rendition of it.
And there's no incest in this one, which is always good. Shit, I should have thrown that in for the value.
Oh my god. Okay, so this is the final one. It's me, and it's something that I know nothing about that I'll have to describe.
Yeah.
Or
which means that I need to find something that I know about so I can ask you about it.
Something I know relatively little about, I should say.
Pardon me. You're gonna have to waffle, I'm afraid.
Alright. Well, talking a little bit more about the Spanish-American War, the Rough Riders were an interesting institution. Like, they were a bunch of random, independent, almost mercenaries who were led by a former, person who was part of the executive branch of the U.S. government. They were a cavalry unit that, had to find private passage onto Cuba so that they could actually fight. Roosevelt literally wanted to get into the war so badly that Roosevelt was an interesting character in general. When he heard that the buffalo was going extinct, he hopped on a train, so that he could go out and hunt a buffalo before they all died. Like,
yeah, I heard about that.
this guy was like, this guy literally oozed testosterone.
Okay,
Is the best way to put it. At least in my, like, he was a very interesting character. He got shot in the chest before he gave a speech, and then gave the speech, and then went to see a doctor. The thing is, he actually got shot in the speech. He had the speech in his pocket, and the person shot him at the spot where the speech was. The bullet, like, only went, because of the speech there, it actually penetrated the paper, and then penetrated his, chest, and as a result, he didn't, like, get hurt as much. He was bleeding during the speech. It was a 90-page speech.
Oh, then bullet couldn't have gone too far in then.
Well, exactly. That's probably why he was able to give it. But the thing is, he was able to give the speech, and then that's where he formed his famous party that fucked everything up. He formed what he called the Bull Moose Party. And it was because at the end of the speech, he's sitting up there with a bullet hole in his fucking chest. His last line was something like, "No one can stop this bull moose." And then he went off to see a doctor.
Amazing. All right, I've got your one.
Yeah, I'm ready.
And I think you know a little bit about the topic, so I think it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, what is it?
I would like to hear the story of the Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
Okay, I know a little bit about this.
That's the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor game. It's the first one of the series. I have 2 minutes on the clock ready.
All right,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the Shadow of Mordor takes place between The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings series. It follows the adventures of this ranger dude who got, like, fucked up because orcs took over his city, they killed his family, they killed him, but he was sort of semi-resurrected by the spirit of, like, a ghost elf dude, who... That ghost elf dude was the guy that actually made the rings in Lord of the Rings. And he got murdered by the eyeball guy, and he was bitter about that, and so he wanted vengeance, and so you play through the games as this ranger who is also semi-possessed by this bitter elf guy. You go around and you find orcs, and you have to do things like find out about their habits.
Find out about
Fuck! You find out about their habits, and you use that against them to take them down. And slowly, over the course of the game, you manage to, like, what's my time at right now?
50 seconds. Sorry.
Oh shit. So you take them down, and your eventual goal is to essentially nerf the orcs as hard as you can before the actual plot happens in Lord of the Rings. You meet up with several titular characters, like the Gollum, the guy with the big eyeballs, who's like, "My precious!"
Not in Shadow of Mordor.
You do, actually. You meet him in Shadow of Mordor. I played that mission.
Keep going.
You literally meet him. I've played the game, but I don't remember the plot. From there, I don't actually know how it ends because I never finished the game.
10 seconds. Okay.
So, and then you go up and have tea with Sauron. I don't.
Okay,
I don't.
well, you got the T bit right. Everything else was wrong.
God damn it! I've never.
Okay.
My problem is I couldn't do the ending because I've never beaten the game.
So I could have sworn that Gollum was in the second game, not the first one. But
He was in the first
one.
one. Yeah, he was in the first one because I've never played the second one. I've only played the first one, and
okay.
he shows up in like the third or fourth mission.
So you're pretty close. His family doesn't get murdered in a city. He's a ranger on the Black Gate. And yeah, these three like toadies of Sauron, who is the eyeball guy, turns up, smashes his family, kills him, but he's they put this they put Celebrimor, who is the ancient elf dude, as you put it, into him. Celebrimor, yep, forged the rings. You're right about that. And he has, I can't. I think he still has one of the rings, even though he's dead. And that's what gives him power over the orcs.
Yeah.
And yeah, the game is basically about going and murdering all the people that murdered your family, and then finally you fight Sauron at the end.
Okay. So I never got that far.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty good though.
All right. Yeah, I got the basic premise of the plot.
Yeah. You. It's all about like a government of orcs that you break down by basically bribing politicians.
Yeah, messing with the orc politics is honestly the fun part of that game.
Yeah, that's the catch point for the game. Yeah, that was pretty good.
All right, cool. All right, well, so that's the end. I think I really love this segment. This is one of the ones that's I don't know. I have a lot of fun playing this third.
It really
segment.
makes you think.
It does, and I love trying to think of like things that we've seen or talked about, and I love trying and boil down like this huge lore that you have in your head down to something like that. Oh man, fun times. All right.
Well,
any final thoughts before I close this out?
what is it next week? I think it's a reading.
Next week is going to be, we need to find a book to do.
We found the book.
Oh dear Christ.
Have you just remembered it? That's right, Kaiser will be giving us his rendition on the very popular Audible book, Pimp Dino, 50 Scales of Grey, Book 2.
Jesus fucking Christ.
The hour-long audiobook.
Oh my god. No,
And,
so that's my... I've been putting it off. I haven't actually listened to it yet. I've got it downloaded, but I haven't listened to it.
And I can't wait, because last month it was me that had to do it. You could check that out in the old editions if you want to.
Yeah, it's 2 episodes ago now that happened.
No, it was 4 episodes ago.
Was it actually? I'm losing track. We've done so many of these.
Yeah.
All right.
So look forward to that.
yeah, because I'm certainly not. Anyway, all right, we'll end it there. Thank you all for listening. This has been episode 27 of the TMCJ podcast. We're over half a year now. Thank you all who have been listening. Thank you people who are starting to listen. And we hope that you'll tune in again soon.
Have a fan-dabby-dozy week.